Yo, what is up, guys? It's Cohen back here again today with another video, and today I'm back with another recap of the NBA games from today. It was only 3 games today, but there were some pretty interesting storylines. You could probably tell from the title, the main game I want to talk about is Wizards-Rockets, specifically on the Wizards side of things. I'll go ahead and I'll start with Clippers-Hawks. Clippers-Hawks was interesting because the Clippers were without Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, but they still put up a pretty good fight. The Hawks were at more full strength than they have been. Gallinari played. The Trae Young looked really good tonight. He had a pretty good game. Terrence Mann just couldn't guard him, especially in the second half. Trae Young really went berserk in the fourth quarter. Same with Kevin Herter. He went berserk. And the Hawks did a good job holding off a pretty tough Clippers team that played well without their 2 stars. Big win for the Hawks. This would have been a bad loss if they ended up losing it. They didn't. They held on. Good for them. Next game, we had Knicks Jazz, which is finishing up as I'm talking about this. But the Jazz are up 17 right now with 2 minutes left, so I don't believe that they're going to blow that. What it really says about these two teams, the Knicks played really tough the first 3 quarters, even a little bit into the fourth. The Jazz just started to pull away at the end. But the Knicks play hard, and that this Knicks team really is a good basketball team. They it's weird to say because a lot of people just assume the Knicks are bad. Like I'll see people on the timeline like, "Oh, why is this team playing so close with the Knicks?" They're like, "Oh, why are the Jazz playing close to the Knicks?" And it's because the Knicks are actually like a genuinely good team. Like they're not great or anything. I don't think that they're going to make any noise, but they're a team that could make the playoffs. Julius Randle's been fantastic. He had another good night tonight. Emmanuel Quickly's been great for a rookie. RJ's had some strides, especially in recent games. You have Mitchell Robinson who's been playing solid, and mainly it's Tom Thibodeau also deserves a shout out. He had 25 points in the first half and just didn't score again for some reason. But shout out really to Tom Thibodeau. He's been fantastic for them. He's really got them buying into the defensive minded scheme that he is kind of known for. He also is doing a lot of his usual player stars hella minutes tactics. RJ Barrett like leads the league in minutes, I think. Him, Randall, guys like that. And I mean, it's not the worst thing to get those young guys developed, to get them really conditioned to play those long, hard fought games, especially when you get to like the playoffs where you need those starters to play big minutes and they're already going to be conditioned for that. They're young, they're going to be fine. And I think Tom Thibodeau deserves a big shout out. He's been a fantastic coach for them so far. Like I said, he's really got them buying into a defensive minded scheme. It's clear they've all bought into it. They all play hard. And every single night, the Knicks have a shot to win because they do play hard every single night. They might lock you up, which you might not be expecting because the Knicks haven't been known for that as of recently. On the Jazz side of the ball, Donovan Mitchell did not have a good game tonight. But the fact that the Jazz were still able to win in kind of a blowout shows you how good this Jazz team is. They're super well rounded. Donovan Mitchell's obviously the star of that team, followed by Rudy Gobert. But behind them, you have Joe Ingles, who's a solid player. You have scorers like Bojan Bogdanovic and Jordan Clarkson. I've talked about the Jazz before. I don't need to go too in depth with it. But I like talking about the Jazz because they're a fun surprise. They're doing better than I thought they would this season, and I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. Like, I'll admit to something coming up soon that I was wrong about. But the Jazz are just, they play really good basketball. They play very fundamental basketball. Quinn Snyder's a great coach, and like similar to how I was talking about the Knicks, they all kind of just buy in. They play hard every night. Mike Conley's been good for them too. This Jazz team, they're scary, man. This Jazz team, I think, could make the Western Conference Finals if they continue to play like this. I don't think that they're going to be able to beat whoever they play in the Western Conference Finals because I feel like the Lakers are probably too tough of a threat for them. Maybe the Clippers too. Also, on the Clippers thing, I forgot to mention, Lou Williams is not very good anymore. They need to trade for like a George Hill, and I'm not saying that because I want more of their picks. I'm saying that as a basketball fan, Lou Williams is just not the player he once was. But yeah, I think that's all I want to say about those 2 games. Then we get into the game I really want to talk about, Wizards Rockets. The Wizards are screwed. The Wizards are. I think that's what I'm going to make the title of this video. The Wizards are just screwed, man. It's not necessarily all their fault. It is partially their fault, but it's not all their fault. I'll start with the Rockets. The Rockets are fun. I don't think they're going to make any noise or anything, but John Wall's fun to watch. It's really cool to see him back. DeMarcus Cousins played like garbage at the beginning of the season, and he's really picked it up, which is cool to see because I was really hoping Boogie could have kind of a turnaround. It's cool to see Oladipo. This Rockets team is really just full of players that are really trying to prove themselves, Christian Wood included. He didn't play tonight, though. And despite him not playing, the Rockets got a 19-point win over the Wizards, who cannot do anything in the fourth quarter. I'll get to that also in a second. But I want to shout out this Rockets team. They play hard. I think Steven Silas is a pretty solid coach, and I think he has been showing his coaching potential as of recently. It's cool to see this Rockets team that's kind of like the island of misfit toys in a way. Like they're all players that people are like, oh, I don't want you for this reason or that reason or whatever, and they're just playing. They play hard. They're not going to win a ton of games, but they're going to win some. And every night that they're going to be, there's one of those guys that's going to show out, and you're going to be like, damn, I'm really happy that that player is showing out. Now we get to the Wizards, who, like I said, they're screwed. I'll start with Bradley Beal. Beal's really good, but it's starting to look like he might want out. There hasn't been confirmed reports of that, but from body language, from facial expressions and stuff, it looks like Bradley Beal might need to go soon because it might reach volatile levels if they continue to suck, which they have sucked so far. And like I said, it's not all their fault, but that trade market needs to be explored. You need to start looking to maybe getting young assets because if Bradley Beal blows up his trade value, then you're even more screwed than you are now. Why I say they're screwed is because, like I said, Bradley Beal wants out. You have plenty of other issues, such as COVID is hitting this team hard as hell. I thought it was obvious to everyone that the Wizards were going to have COVID cases when every team that started playing them started having COVID cases. And then the league is like, oh, yeah, the Wizards have COVID. Like, yeah, no duh. Of course they have COVID. And they have a bunch of people out. Denny Avdija has been out for a while, their first round pick. He just has not played very much because of the COVID protocols. This Wizards team in general doesn't have time to find a rhythm because they keep going through COVID protocols, which hurts them a lot. It does, however, give some recovery time to Russell Westbrook. Unfortunately, that hasn't been enough because Westbrook is clearly injured. He is not like people are going to say he's washed, and I agree he is declining. That's natural. It's going to happen unless you're LeBron James. But Westbrook is very clearly injured. There's times where it looks like he's just limping, and he had like a pretty solid game tonight. It felt like he didn't score super efficiently or anything, but he had a good game, and it didn't end up mattering because this Wizards team outside of Beal and Westbrook does not have much. And I say Westbrook, but Westbrook, like I said, has not been very good so far. I do think he is still injured. I know he is still injured because it's been said multiple times. By mainly by their coach Scott Brooks, who is not a good coach. Scott Brooks needs to get fired, and I don't know if the Wizards are going to, because if you fire Scott Brooks, you add more turmoil to a season that's already filled with it, and I think that might just escalate everything and might end up blowing up the Bradley Beal situation. Which, if Bradley Beal requests a trade, that's the end game point for this Wizards team. If Beal requests a trade, this team's done. It's over because you can't get anything for Beal and add it to Westbrook and this current roster that's going to make them more of a title contender or more of a threat in the playoffs than Bradley Beal already was going to make you. Because Westbrook's going to keep declining, and by the time any young pieces that you got, like say for example you got like a Jamal Murray or like a Michael Porter Jr. from like the Nuggets or something, by the time they develop, Westbrook's going to be too old and his game's just going to be gone. You're done. Um, Thomas Bryant, a huge part of that team, tore his ACL. There's nothing they can do about that. It sucks. And that's part of why they are screwed because he's a huge part of that team. He's a great center to space the floor. He works well with Russ and Beal's games, and he's gone. He's young. He was improving. He's gone for the whole season. And who knows how he's going to come back because coming back from those injuries is tough. And that screws them even more. They don't have the depth because of COVID. They don't have Thomas Bryant because of injury. Russ is not 100% because of injury, and Beal looks like he's on the verge of asking out. Those four things, plus you add in Scott Brooks is not a good coach, and the Wizards owner, I just don't think is a good owner either. I've seen Wizards fans complain about him a bunch. Shout out to my friend Wayne on Twitter, a really big Wizards fan. He's a guy who, if you want to see what I'm talking about with all the Wizard stuff going on, go follow him. It's at ya boy Wayne with an I. Um, it's not good. He very, very clearly depicts how Wizards fans feel right now. A lot of Wizards fans are just giving up and saying trade Beal, go get him winning somewhere like Denver or something like that. I still think there might be a chance to salvage this, but man, it feels like this is dismal in Washington. I just really hope that they look into a Beal trade soon before he requests a trade, and that kills his trade value because I really don't want to see the Wizards get screwed over for Beal. I want to see them get a good return. I want to see Beal go and play winning basketball. If it's not in Washington, then maybe in like a Denver. A Denver, I think, would be a really good fit for him. Like a Philly would be a good fit, but I doubt that Philly makes any trades, seeing as how they're first in the West. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a video about Bradley Beal trade destinations, or like I'll have you guys give me Bradley Beal trades. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. And yeah, I think that's about it. I'm sorry, Wizards fans, if you're listening to this. I'm sorry. I was high on this team. I thought this team had a lot of potential, and I still think that there is some potential there if Westbrook was healthy, if Thomas Bryant wasn't hurt, if there was a better coach. but I thought it was going to get done this season. I thought the Wizards were going to be a threat, not necessarily to win the East, but a threat to like play teams hard in the East. I thought they were going to make the playoffs, and this is falling apart. I think they're 3-10, 3-11 now. It's not good. This team's horrifically unclutch too. But when you have two players like Russ and Beal who are known for being clutch, and they're just unclutch, there's not much more you can say. This team was down 5 going into the fourth quarter and ended up losing by 19. It's bad. It's bad. So I think that's about all I wanted to say. Wizards fans, I'm sorry. I really wish things were different because it's like I've said before, Russ is my favorite player of all time, and I want to see him win a chip. So I was really hoping for this Wizards team to really break out, surprise people, and they just haven't so far. So I think that's all I wanted to say. So I'll see you guys later. Everyone, say it back.